the holiday season is upon us, but maybe you haven't selected that perfect Christmas tree just yet. We are at Snavely's Garden Corner, and we have an expert to give you the best advice to select that perfect Christmas tree for you this year, as well as how the Christmas tree can benefit your garden in the springtime. And I'm here with Chris Snavely from Snavely's Farm in Chambersburg, and he's going to talk a little bit about Christmas tree selection. In this case, he's going to talk about what he has in front of him, which is a living Christmas tree. Chris?
It's always interesting to help people separate living Christmas trees from what they call live Christmas trees, which we're going to see in a minute as the cut version of a Christmas tree. In this case, we have a tree that you can plant after you've used it at Christmas. And the wonderful feature there is that, of course, for years to come, you remember this Christmas, and in the case of this Christmas, all the events that have occurred in this interesting year of 2020. I happen to be standing beside a Serbian spruce. There are a number of other varieties that you might find in a container. That becomes a very plantable tree and one that you can keep in the house for what we suggest to be 10 days to 2 weeks. So in the case of Serbian spruce and a number of others that are available, the important thing is that you get a tree that's not so heavy that you can't handle it, that's been properly prepared by the nursery so that it has an excellent chance of survival. Because in the stress of moving the tree into the house and all the rest of this, a terrible mistake some people make is trying to get a 6 or 7 foot tree that actually has a root system. And at that point, you're talking about a tree with several hundred pounds of weight if it's a real opportunity to have any chance to grow. If it's been put in a tiny basket as a big tree, your chances are very poor. So we've over the years sold many of these that people have excellent success with. And I'd suggest you consider it if you've got a space in your yard for a tree that someday you're going to remember this year with.
And Chris Snavely of Snavely's Garden Corner is going to talk a little bit about the other Christmas trees available, which these Christmas trees, of course, are cut down. So I'll give it to you, Chris.
So we had looked earlier at living Christmas trees. These we'll call live trees, as opposed to the artificial trees that would be an alternative. So live Christmas trees, preferably, are a tree that you'll find fresh cut or as freshly cut as possible on the tree lot. You may be able to go to a cut your own tree farm, but in this case these trees have been harvested a couple of weeks ago, and we sell primarily 3 different kinds of trees. The primary tree we sell here is Fraser fir, and these trees are grown in North Carolina and Virginia, and are less grown here in Pennsylvania because of the environment. A tree that you'll often find in Pennsylvania now is Douglas fir, which has been popular for years and years. Sadly, because of a disease problem, there are fewer and fewer of Douglas firs available. And then finally, a favorite but less known is concolor fir, which has a very soft needle and actually the smell of citrus, which many people prefer, and is probably the tree most able to retain its needles the longest in the season. So concolor fir, which comes in shades of blue or green, is a wonderful, durable tree to consider as you look at Christmas trees, and is popular for the people who have used it in the past. So Douglas fir, concolor fir, and Fraser fir are the 3 that you'll find. Now typically what you want to do is run your hand over the branch of the tree, and you'll feel quickly whether those needles wish to be retained or to fall. You can pick up the tree, shake it, look at the needle retention, because what you really need to do is find a tree that you're convinced will last throughout the season. On the tree lot, we make fresh cuts on the trees for you, And most people will do that so that the tree's able to pick up moisture at home. When you take it home, and as immediately as possible put it into water so that it draws moisture into its system. That helps it retain its foliage through the season. If you get any one of these trees, I would anticipate that you should be able to get past the new year with the tree retaining its needles. Now, when the season's concluded, it would be always beneficial to supply this tree to the wildlife at your home. So the tree is a wonderful place for the birds to hide themselves for the winter. It's a great shelter for them. Some people will put suet in those trees, do that sort of thing. The needles become an excellent compost for you, and so recycling your tree is a very good thing to be able to do if you can. Recycling it, at least as far as your feathered friends particularly are concerned. So I think that summarizes pretty well the three kinds of trees. There are a couple others, Scotch pine, which I don't have an example of handy, and then a tree that I would be somewhat leery of if I were you, and that's blue spruce, which does not have the ability to retain its needles very well at all. Norway spruce is another. They both have much, much shorter lifespans in your house than the fir trees do. Now, everyone will enjoy a perfectly shaped Christmas tree, but an alternative to the perfectly shaped Christmas tree of your dreams could be Charlie Brown's Christmas tree.
There we go, folks.
Which is available should you choose.
Can you explain a little bit more about why it's a different color than the other trees?
Well, it's a spruce tree that was a bit undernourished and overwatered. And that doesn't mean it can't be a reasonable Christmas tree for you, but its ability to remain in the landscape had ended. It's lighter in color than you would normally anticipate from that spruce.
So is it possible to overwater the tree?
When it has a root system and is living in the soil, it absolutely is.
Okay.
And often it results in the death of the tree. In this case, it resulted in the undernourishment of the tree and a significant amount of root loss, but not kill. So we hope that this tree finds a home for the holidays before it meets the end of its days.
Indeed. All right.
We hope you'll have a Merry Christmas with a Christmas tree living or live or artificial if you choose. We have them all.
And of course, like you said, it can add to the compost, so that can be additional soil for the springtime when you plant flowers, correct?
That's correct.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much, Chris.